Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Healthcare Advocate Live. And today I just wanted to share with you some random thoughts that I had after, yet again, watching a Netflix show. But I did actually feel like there were some really important lessons learned through this Netflix show. It was called From Scratch. And yes, I just want to preface this whole thing by saying is that yes, sometimes at night I sit there and a little bit binge watch Netflix shows. I'm sure that there are some of you out there who are shaking their head, too much screen time, too much before bed. For me, it's part of my self-care right now, so no judgment. But I can't turn off my healthcare advocate brain even at night, even when I'm watching silly shows. So there were a few things that popped up in this series called From Scratch, which is supposed to be a romantic comedy. At least that's how it was built. Um, but it turned out that it was a bit more than that. The truth is that I started the first episode and I felt it was a little cringy. Lady, I always have trouble watching Americans in foreign countries, and she was in Italy and listening to her butcher Italian and the whole sort of wandering around American thing. And I was thinking, I'm not going to continue. But then I had this friend who told me, no, it's great. I just saw this series and then I loved it. And I was like, okay, not absorbed in anything else. Why not? I'll try it. And then basically, mostly toward the end of the series, I learned a few things that I thought or reminded me of a few things that I thought, wow, these are really helpful to people who are dealing with any kind of serious medical issue in the medical community. So I just wanted to briefly highlight three things that I learned that I wanted to address. One was race in medicine. The second is information, the importance thereof. And the third is death. So not really a spoiler alert because it's very obvious even from the trailer of this film that there's going to be illness. But if you don't want to hear the details, stop now. I understand if you want to go watch From Scratch and have it all surprised. But if you want to hear what I have to say about those three things, then keep listening. So the first thing is race. So for any of you who've been to Israel, you know that Jews come in all colors, ethnicities, sociodemographic backgrounds, etc. And sometimes the medical system is aware of that. But sometimes you'll get funny situations. Like I have a friend who's married to an Ethiopian man. She's white, he's Ethiopian black, and their children have his coloring. So when she takes them places, often they don't know that she's the mother. And it's Israel, so people always say, what they think. And there's always a question, who are you? And she says, I'm the mother. And then there's the sweet smile, oh, you're adopted, which is also, definitely happening. So this is definitely a scene in the movie when they keep telling the character that they have to only talk to family because she's African American and her husband is white. So initially I thought to myself, okay, that definitely happens in Israeli medical care. What can somebody do about it? So my first thought was, you should really put just a picture of the family with the husband and wife. You should put them above the bed of the person or on the side so that somebody who's coming in can sort of get a glance and know that they are a family of different ethnicities. And then I was thinking to myself, Aviva, are you kidding? This is Israel. That's never going to happen. Things move way too fast. No person is going to let you hang up anything on the walls of the hospital, on the bed, anywhere, unless it's a nursing home. That's just not a realistic solution. So the truth of the matter is that there isn't anything straightforward to do other than just calmly telling every single person who enters the room who you are and what your relationship is to the patient. And often in Israel, people won't ask. Meaning if you speak with authority about the patient situation and you've got relevant questions, then most of the time the health person won't even ask who you are. The caveat to that is when you ask too many questions and you're a little bit invasive and they don't really feel like asking you, and then they feel like you're a bit too overempowered, and then they say, and who are you? So you need to have your answer ready for that. Okay, that's the first issue. The second issue is information. So there is a great scene in this series when the main character is getting all this different conflicting information from various professionals who just walk into the room, see the patient, look at the data, and order more tests. So she feels like there's all these different professionals. There's an endocrinologist and a hepatologist, that's a liver doctor, and there's an oncologist, and all these things, and everybody's saying something different. And she feels, and nobody's answering her questions really. So finally, she actually runs out after the doctor. She asks somebody, where's the doctor? She runs out to her in the parking garage and like basically like throws a question at her, to which the doctor evades, because I understand that, says like, I really can't answer that. You have to ask the oncologist. But the best line is when she says, I can't believe people shouldn't have to go to the parking garage to get information. And I thought, what a great line. I thought it was very metaphorical, because the truth is that in one of my other jobs that I still do, I write articles about all sorts of medical studies for people. For health professionals, nursing, psychiatrists, etc. And I came across this article recently that basically did the study of parents of children with pediatric cancer patients. And the main thing that they felt was lacking, what they needed from the system, was information, relevant information. And I thought to myself, that goes across all the different areas. It doesn't matter, child, adult, and also all different countries. People are hungry for information. And you think it's crazy. Hello, Google and this new chat GPT and artificial intelligence, like we're swimming in information. But the problem is that nobody's doing a filter. And nobody's telling you like relevant information to you. And I think that the mistake that the medical community goes is that say, no, people don't really want specifics. It's too overwhelming. Yes, they do. They want specifics. They want you to tell them like really pertinent information like X, Y, Z. Your husband has cancer. We think that his liver is failing now. We are going to try to do these 3 treatments, and they have an X amount of success. And now going forward, you're going to need to make these decisions. Years ago, I did a study on Haredi women who had metastasized cancer, and were obviously metastasized cancer means that you are basically dealing with a chronic cancer that's going to be with you pretty much for the rest of your life. And it's a lot about quality of care and patient and different treatment options, etc. And the assumption of the medical community was that Haredi women don't want to know. They don't want to know. They don't want to. They have their own faith. They have their own beliefs. They don't want to know. And on the other side, every single woman that I spoke to, save one, so that's 49 women and their caregivers, all said the same thing. We just want information. We want to know. So it's just crazy. It's like such a huge disconnect that still exists in the system, no matter how much information we have out there, that's how we have to resolve. So as a patient, when you go in, or as somebody who's caring for a patient, you need to be clear to the person who's treating. You can write it down so you don't forget. You say, please, Dr. Moshe, I need to understand what this test is for, what we want to learn from this test, what information is it going to give us, and what decision do we need to make with that information that we are getting from this test. Those things are crucial. And the last thing is death. So the truth of the matter is here, full review. I haven't even finished the series yet, so I don't know if someone dies, someone doesn't die. But for sure that they are dealing in this series is that the patient, the husband, looks like he's going to die. And no one in the whole constellation of professionals, not doctors, nurse, obviously she's not allowed to say anything, but the oncologist, the hepatologist, the endocrinologist, the attending, the internist, nobody has mentioned the word death. Now, the man has a chronic, very severe cancer, and his liver is failing. So like, good morning, anybody who's like not even gone to medical school but read a few articles knows that like liver failing is not good, and usually this can mean that like death may be imminent. Now, there is something going on in the medical community, no matter how many changes have gone on in medical school, and there are amazing things. Like there are great doctors out there are great programs, and doctors really invest now in patient communication and bedside manner, and there's much more thought and investment about this, but they're still not able to talk about death. It just is never mentioned. And it's crazy to me, like how many people I have been involved with in my life, like personally with my brother-in-law, and clients that I've had over the years, and friends. And when I told you, when I did this study with 50 women, I sat with a woman who was basically green. Her liver was so not functional that she actually had a green tint to her skin. Her eyes were yellow. She told me that nobody had mentioned death to her or palliative care, or what was going to happen. She died 2 weeks later. So my issue is here is that, unfortunately, I understand that the doctors, and it was funny because in the movie, and it's from scratch, so the character keeps going to different doctors and they keep saying, go talk to your oncologist, go talk to your oncologist. It's kind of like a pass the buck, because nobody wants to take the responsibility to say your spouse, your friend, your child, that's even a whole different story, let's not go there, but is dying. And what do you do for that? And there's preparation that you can do. And it doesn't mean that it's, as we say in Hebrew, nivuah, it's not a prophecy. But they have data that suggests that that is the direction that we're going in. Let's prepare. Let's make the person comfortable. Let's make decisions that are actually suitable to quality of life, and not giving chemo up until the last day so the person is puking and ill as they try to say goodbye to their loved ones. So obviously this isn't for everyone, and there's some people who want to do treatment until the last day, but give the person the option. Bring death into the room in a positive way. And unfortunately, and I tell this to a lot of my clients, that at some point, like, it could be that you're going to have to bring up the word because the professional is not going to bring up the word. So you have to be brave enough to step into the ring and say, like, is my parent dying? Is my father dying? You know, is that what it looks like to you? And they might even, and you say, okay, so what do we do? What are our options here to make him the most comfortable, to bring him home, to put him to have him in a hospice care, whatever is suitable for the family. That's a whole nother conversation, but so crucial. And it was just so interesting to me to see, like, okay, like, this is like America, this is a TV show, and like, it's very recent and they're still dealing with this issue. We haven't figured it out. So anyway, those were my three things: race, information, and death. Went on a bit longer than I thought, but I guess I got very excited. How, Netflix makes me think about these things. I don't know what that says about me. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Please, leave me a comment, send me a message, send me a private message if you've got any questions about what I said, or if we can also help you at Health Advise. And keep listening.